Demon Hunter is constantly a disappointment. Every single expansion since it has come out has left players with a bad taste in their mouth about the class for a plethora of different reasons. We could talk about how absurdly overpowered it was on release. We could talk about how in the second ever expansion of Demon Hunter existing, Skull and Man's Academy, they did not change anything about how Demon Hunter played. They printed one aggro archetype into another, 2 expansions back to back. We could talk about how Demon Hunter has been given some of the best card draw in the entire game, on top of some of the best mana cheat in the entire game, and some of the best OTK combos in the entire game in Dark Moon Fair. We could talk about how Forged in the Barrens Demon Hunter was not there. We could talk about United in Stormwind's Demon Hunter having the quest line and being absurd. We could talk about every single Demon Hunter expansion. I'm not gonna go on with this gag, but where do you go? The class has been seen as a failure for most players. I only enjoy it because it is an aggro class and has aggro decks, and I don't enjoy any other deck it has. The only decks that seem to be popular for it historically have been Questline and Wild, because it plays wildly different than Questline did in Standard, and, well, that's it. People don't like Demon Hunter. Is that Demon Hunter's fault? Not necessarily. You can make the same argument that people don't like other classes for their core gameplay, but Demon Hunter doesn't have a core gameplay. It has 4 years worth of expansions that all seem to be trying to push it in different directions and never really able to have an identity. And that's bad. Even Death Knight has been around for only 2 years now and has a much more significant identity than Demon Hunter. Barons pushed Death Rattles. Okay, well then we just won't do anything with Death Rattles kind of ever again. Okay, well, Nathria pushed late game for Demon Hunter. Okay, let's never print anything else late game for Demon Hunter ever again. It's like, what are they doing? Are they just giving up? Do they think that Demon Hunter, had too bad of a launch for people to care about it? Demon Hunter was so unbelievably overpowered on launch that I still know people that have a bad taste in their mouth just from that 4 full years ago. Almost 5 years ago at this point. That's terrible. And where do we go? Demon Hunter still suffers from the sins of its past. It doesn't get cards reverted going into Wild anymore because, well, we just had Demon Hunter had a full year of getting nerfed from having overpowered cards, and almost none of them were reverted. What? Almost none of the Demon Hunter cards are reverted? And this, again, was in an era of where Demon Hunter was really bad in Wild. Demon Hunter's only now good in Wild because of, well, Perils in Paradise. Perils in Paradise just completely changed Demon Hunter, and I mean, I can't really say anything otherwise. Perils in Paradise is one of the most influential expansions in the entire game just for what it did to Demon Hunter. It took Demon Hunter from being kind of unplayable, aside from one deck that was struggling because of a bunch of nerfs and bans, to, well, okay, now it finally has a deck, and it's one people hate. Demon Hunter gets cards that are, frankly, obscenely overpowered. They get nerfed, the class is completely unplayable, and then it happens again. And again. And again. And there's no in-between, because they can't choose a side. Do we make it a slower, value-oriented class like Hunter, or Shaman, or Paladin, or Death Knight, or Warrior? Or do we make it a super fast class that plays a lot of cards and has a lot of mana cheat, like Rogue, or Mage, or Warlock, or Druid? I just, like, what do you say, right? Demon Hunter just is a failure. Like, Death Knight, you could say you don't like Death Knight, right? If you like playing, faster decks, you could say you don't like Death Knight, right? That's fine. But to say Death Knight is a failure is wrong, in my opinion. Death Knight, like, thematically and balance-wise, is pretty good. Obviously, the triple rune system is a failure, but that's not Death Knight's fault or problem with designing cards for Death Knight. That's that's Blizzard. That's Blizzard and just not wanting to print triple rune cards. Versus Demon Hunter, which is a failure. Objectively, it is a failure. It is incredibly polarized, whether people like it or not. It's incredibly unpopular, and it's never in a balanced state. Never. Demon Hunter is never in, like, a tier 2. It's either, you know, the best deck in the game, or the decks are just not really playable at all. And that's really bad, because this happens all the time. This has happened every single expansion since Demon Hunter has come out. It's never been, like, I mean, I can't say never. It obviously has been, like, there have been times where Demon Hunter is, like, kind of good, but not, like, broken. That's obviously true, but it's a lot more rare than when Demon Hunter just gets new cards, they are incredibly broken on release, and then they get nerfed, and then Demon Hunter can't really do much for the rest of the expansion. That happens way more often than Demon Hunter is balanced. So, yeah. I don't know what to say. It's just, it happens, right? Like, you can cycle through all the times where Demon Hunter has gotten, like, broken stuff, and it just seems like, what are they doing? It really does, because a lot of the time, it's a combination of too much card draw, too much mana cheat, and, like, too much damage, or something like that. Like, in Nathria, they did the relics, so you have, like, Relic of Dimensions, which would draw a million cards, and guess what? They would cost 0, and damn, right? Damn, sucks for you, opponent. All my cards cost 0, lol. Or you have, like, you could talk about, like, Skullman's Demon Hunter, where Demon Hunter already was nerfed after Ashes of Outlands, and then guess what? They print one of the strongest aggro expansions of all time in Soul Shard Demon Hunter. And guess what? Soul Shard Demon Hunter, absurdly powerful and dominates Skullman's. Or, if you really want to, you can talk about how, oh, guess what? They have all this mana cheat and all this card draw. Okay, let's play a combo deck like Il'gynoth Demon Hunter, which is one of the only decks to ever go to 2 world championships. Like, we've had decks that are powerful for like a year, right? But to say that we've had many decks that are playable in 2 world championships is not normal. It just isn't. You had regular Il'gynoth, and then you had Questline Il'gynoth, and it was amazing. And don't get me wrong, Demon Hunter is typically a high skill class, right? Even the broken decks, not always, but typically are relatively high skilled. Like, Il'gynoth Demon Hunter was actually pretty high skilled because you had to use your resources appropriately since you didn't really have great removal, and using your healing for removal could lose you the game, especially because you had to do it. But I digress. I think Demon Hunter is just woefully mismanaged. I think that it's not even hard to fix. I'm going to be so real with you. It's not hard to fix a lot of the problems in Hearthstone. It's just a blatant lack of care. Like, a blatant lack of care. I mean, look at Warrior. Warrior had a full year of being dog shit, unplayably terrible. The devs decided and sat down and printed Titans. And Titans alone took Warrior in a direction that the class desperately needed, gave it powerful cards, and, to top it off, has set the tone for Warrior for the last, like, 4 expansions. Titans, in 1 expansion, saved Warrior. Let's look at Perils in Paradise. Perils in Paradise saved Mage. I know that might sound odd to some people because, well, they don't like Big Spell Mage and they don't like Elemental Mage, but objectively, Perils in Paradise saved Mage as a class. Before that, Mage was, well, random card generation, random bullshit, a lot of card draw, and a lot of mana cheat. And it never played for board, it didn't play very many minions, it didn't interact with the opponent at all. And then, well, Elemental Mage comes out, and suddenly Mage just plays an aggro deck. I get that people don't like to talk, people are incredibly biased against aggro, they just are, and you know what, I don't care anymore that people are biased against aggro, it just doesn't matter to me anymore. But objectively, Elemental Mage is a good thing for the health of the game. Then they printed Big Spell Mage, and yes, Big Spell Mage was incredibly overpowered because of, you know, Skyla and Tsunami, and that was way too strong. But it was nerfed. It's still really good now, but now Mage actively plays for the board, actively has spells that affect the board, and, you know, trades their minions on board, rather than only playing spells, only randomly generating cards, and only drawing more cards and dealing damage to your opponent's face. where can you say that that wasn't a good change? You can argue that Perils in Paradise was too strong for Mage. I won't make any argument against that. It definitely was. But to say that Perils in Paradise did not save Mage as a class is objectively wrong. It just is. And Perils in Paradise, for Wild at least, did save Demon Hunter as a class, right? It made it so Demon Hunter isn't completely worthless, unplayable garbage and is good. But there's a difference between making something strong and making something well-made. Again, that's what I'm talking about. Demon Hunter doesn't need powerful cards. It has a lot of powerful cards. It has a lot of card draw. It has a lot of mana cheat, right? It needs identity. It needs to have a long-lasting archetype that it continually will get support for. Big Demon Hunter has been a thing a couple times in the past, I will not lie, and they could try and push big demons in Demon Hunter, but they haven't been. So, and multiple times throughout this year, again, we're getting big Demon Hunter support, but no playable cards. And it doesn't look good for the StarCraft because, well, the mini set is about StarCraft, and as far as I know, Zerglings are not demons, and Demon Hunter is a swarm, is part of the swarm. So, I'm not optimistic for a big Demon Hunter in this mini set, which means we'll have had like a full year since Big Demon Hunter has gotten playable support. Because again, there is a difference between getting playable cards and getting cards, right? God, Demon Hunter's just so fucking worthless. I'm sorry. Like, it pisses me off because Illidan is awesome. Demon Hunters in World of Warcraft are awesome. I love Arana. Arana is my favorite Hearthstone exclusive character. And like, what do? I can't play these cards. They're fucking boring. They're so goddamn boring. That's the thing. Demon Hunter just is boring. No one likes to play it. And the only decks that aren't boring are incredibly fucking overpowered. And like, yeah, okay, I liked playing Naga Sharpshooter in Demon Hunter and Shadow of the Badlands, right? But that's because Naga Sharpshooter was a 3-mana fucking 1/5 that dealt 2 damage whenever you played a Naga and a spell, and it drew you cards. It's like the most disgustingly broken draw engine card of all time. And like, there's nothing that the players can do. We can't make meta decks with it that don't run this dog shit. Like, they printed fucking Kurtrus, the Gunslinger Kurtrus. I would make a genuine argument that Gunslinger Kurtrus is one of the probably bottom 3 Highlander like support cards of all time. And like, what is there to say? That Cruel and Solia Inkmaster are the only 2 Highlander support cards that are worse than Kurtrus? What the fuck? Like, what? How do you fucking do that? Whatever. That's gonna be it for me. I will see you guys next time. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I want to know what you think about Demon Hunter down below. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.
Shadows are rising again!
Darker than they've ever been.